Hi everyone, welcome to Starsight. Today we're going to channel some messages about your anger. Most of us experience anger in a dual dimension. There is a part of it that's very sacred, not just reasonable and understandable, but really sacred in the sense that it safeguards our soul energy. Okay, in that sense it is sacred, it is protective of our sacredness. But then there's also another dimension of shadow where we are angry for all kinds of egoic reasons, or the reason is sacred or the root is sacred, but the way we express it or the way we go about it is really manipulative or violent towards others, or simply distorted. Like, we may think this is what we're angry about, but turns out that the root cause is something entirely different. So there can be a lot of complexities and distortions in relation to our anger. Often I see that the anger can also have relational needs embedded in them. I'm not really angry with so and so, but it's just that I wish someone would fulfill this need for me, and I'm projecting all of that dissatisfaction on this one person that I'm angry with. Anyway, all of this roundabout way of saying that anger is a very complicated world within ourselves, and I'm hoping that today we'll find some insight about us in relation to our anger. Okay, so pick a pile and I'll see you at your reading. Alright, pile 1. Open, say yes, expand through the extremes, trust life. This is feeling like an energy whose anger is really intense, and you've dealt with it by burying it very deeply. So you rarely let it come to the surface, and when it does, it is explosive, further entrenching your belief that you need to keep it buried for fear of hurting others. Or even I feel like there is a reluctance here of showing yourself, like who you really are to others. There's a sense here like you could have been told from an early age that you're too much, or you demand too much from others. But it's something that you really enjoy. I feel like your extreme states of consciousness you really enjoy. So maybe you really love falling in love, or you really like altered states of mind. It's just there is something about your extremes that it makes you feel alive, they delight you, but you feel like they can't be properly experienced with others. They can't be properly enjoyed with others because others have judgments, and also you are scared of hurting someone. This feels like someone who's not yet met their match. Or you guys are saying you've met someone that appears to be your match, but you're not sure that they are. It's too big a risk to open to them. And that feels very true right now energetically. So this is an energy who's met someone that feels like, okay, I can finally experience the extremes of life, of my consciousness with this person in a really balanced, extremes of life in a balanced way. Basically, we can handle it relationally, and you're not sure if that's true. You're not sure if this is your fantasy or if it's real. Okay, use this as an energy check, pile 1. So if nothing I've said so far resonates with you, this may not be your pile. But I want to say additionally that if this is not your situation, that you haven't just met someone that you're uncertain about, again, that feels so significant in the energy that I'm feeling here, that again, if that's not true for you, even if the other parts of what I've said so far resonates, this might not be your pile. Okay, so this feels expressly for someone who's unsure about someone new. It's interesting that this is coming up in a reading about anger. The egg stone, feminine power, embodiment, fertility. Singing stones, transmit your vibration, use your voice. Wisdom keeper, a new perspective, study and learning. You have a whole secret world inside of you, pile 1, that you don't let other people witness or even know about. I feel like your actual life is people who know you in day-to-day life. That version of you is significantly, strikingly different from the version of you that exists in and through these secret worlds. It feels like someone who plays video games, but not actual video games, like it's in your head. Like you construct these worlds of fantasy and extreme emotion, and you enjoy it all yourself. So this might also be someone who smokes up or uses plant medicine to journey through the worlds of their own making, but also, when you reach a particular level of fantasy making, you're also touching the fantasy of God. Like at the extreme boundary of something, it all becomes one with divinity. It's like that. You know this. This is your internal worlds, your fantasy worlds are a source of sustenance and spiritual energy for you. But again, like there feels like a big inhibition or hesitation in living this openly. Partly, I think it began as you being shamed for this tendency of liking these fantasy worlds, feeling deeply, etc. You enjoying this intensity, your enjoyment of your own intensity was shamed in some way. But I think over time you've recognized this secrecy as a protective measure. You don't want others here. You don't like what they do with it. Because though something of you uses these fantasy worlds to access a deeper layer of yourself, you also let these worlds use you. You're truly open to what they bring up for you, to the places that they take you, almost of their own volition. You don't project your will on these worlds. There is really a recognition within you that you may have learned to access them, like opening a secret garden, but they don't belong to you. That you're journeying through the worlds of a god or the worlds of divinity in some sense. You recognize that at a very deep level. Whereas if you've invited other people to be part of these worlds, it's like they immediately start using them for their own purposes, for their own egoic purposes. So if you've invited a lover or two to participate in this world, it's like they're immediately seeing what they want to see. They're immediately projecting a fantasy of their making to this. Whereas for you, yes, this all began in your fantasies, but then it's taken a life of its own, and you respect that life. You don't come here, you don't retreat into these inner worlds just to get what you want. You retreat into these inner worlds to be shown something of the universe. You worship it, you water it, you nourish it, and you then let it nourish you. But other people seem to enter this world only to get what they want to get. Like, their worldview does not change when they enter this world. Whereas for you, that's not true. You let these fantasy worlds change you. You let them act like a force of God. You learn profoundly from your fantasy worlds, Pile 1. Profoundly. They really are not a creature of your making. You've just managed to access them within you. Like, you've opened a door to them, to worlds that exist independently of you. And what's amazing is that you know it. You know it. Curious, we haven't yet figured out why this is coming up in a reading about anger. The child within, the sacred union, the Holy Grail. Okay, I'm going to read all the words on these cards. The child within, inner mother, innocence, gentleness, tenderness, the sacred union, beloved within, inner and outer relationships, the Holy Grail, stop the endless searching, inner quest. All right. You're angry with other people for not being able to access these secret worlds with you. Like, you long for a playmate, Pile 1. You long for someone to play with you in these worlds, to journey together, to look at them and see your own wonder and awe reflected in their eyes. This is like a metaphor for life itself. Like, you want a playmate for life who understands that life itself is this kind of a world of fantasy and divinity where things are not what they appear to be. That it's all much more magical than we can admit to ourselves. And there is a growing resentment within you. Maybe this has been there for a long time, about not having met anyone like that. And I know in the beginning we said you've just met them, so I think this is the context to your doubt about them, because so far you haven't met anyone who can play with you like you'd want. And maybe you tried with a couple of people and then you gave up. You decided that this is not worth it, that I'm just going to, that I just have to accept that I'm alone in this, that this world, I'm going to be traveling alone through it. I feel like you did it out of a lot of anguish, but you did it cleanly. Even if you're resentful, I feel like you're in active touch with that resentment. It's not buried. You know that you're unhappy about being alone. It's irrational, but I think that you're really angry with this new person. You feel like they've disturbed something that you had managed to quell within you. This longing for an other, this longing for a partner, for a companion in the true sense. Like you were unhappy about it, but you had accepted it, and now they have walked into your life, and it's really hard not to hope. It's really hard not to want them to be the person you can play with. There's something about them that really activates your inner child. It's not even sexual or romantic at this point. It's just that lonely child within you thinks it's found a friend, and the adult within you is cautioning it relentlessly. Maybe not. Maybe they're not. You're angry with this new person for giving you hope. It's not that you're just afraid of being hurt. That you are. We all are. You're afraid of opening this can of worms, this longing that is getting stronger by the minute for an other. But Palwan, you have to understand, it's not that the longing is getting stronger, it's that you are allowing the strength of it to emerge in your consciousness. It is already extremely strong. It's stronger than you think. And you're just for the first time allowing yourself to experience that, allowing yourself to face that, how badly you want a friend, an other, a lover, a beloved, a companion. I'm not going to say to you whether this person is truly it or not. I feel like the message here for you is not information about them, but information about you. It's like your soul is singing to them, and you've got to explore this. You know that you've got to explore it. And the hope that you feel, don't fight it. Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes hope means that we are going to be disappointed, but the kind of longing that I'm experiencing here in your field, you owe it to yourself to give it a chance. To see if this can indeed be what you need it to be. If it's not, it's not. But if it is, oh my God. Aha, sweet results await. Bee spirit, rhino spirit, overcome any obstacle. Spirit has a plan. I love this. Look at that. It feels like Spirit is also speaking to you in this very playful voice, I have a plan. In the image of this bee, I don't know insects very well, but it feels like these things look like dice, like Spirit has thrown some dice to you, and Spirit is inviting you to play, Palwan. Come, play. there's something in here for you, for sure. Okay, now we don't know what it is. It may not be a relationship, it may not be what you think it is, but it is still something really rewarding, something unexpected, something really playful. It really feels like all these fantasy worlds that you've been playing with, it's like suddenly they're looking at you and they're wanting to play with you. This is so fun. It's like, here, come, let's play. This feels like a whole new phase of you learning to interact with the divine and magical side of the universe. It's amazing. That's your message, pile one. I'm sending you a lot of love. This didn't feel like a reading about anger so much as it felt like a reading about the hollowness of your anger. You're not really angry, pile one, with this new person. You're just afraid. And that's okay. That's okay. But Spirit is inviting you to play. All the best with it. So there's some music in my environment, and I'm thinking I might wait for a second before it passes. Right. All right, pile two. This feels like an energy who's been very angry with themselves for a very long time. And I think you've just about reached some kind of an end there. Sorry about the music in the background, pile two. So you've just about reached the end of this anger, or it feels like it's finally fading, like finally some acceptance has set in of whatever it is that you did that made you feel so angry with yourself. So, you know what it feels like? It's like someone mistreated you, someone acted towards you in a way that was not ethical, or in a way that was selfish, and you have been blaming yourself for your part in it. Maybe you didn't see the signs before, or maybe you had your own fantasies going in that relationship that, you know, made you want some of that bad behavior for some reason, some shadowy reason. You've been very angry with your shadow, is what's coming up here. You've been angry with your lower self for your greed, or even with the kind of sexual energy that you experienced in that relationship. You've been very angry with yourself for wanting it, for the face of your desire as it emerged. You've been very alone with this anger. I don't feel like you're working with a therapist or you're working with other people. I don't think that You've even shared the depth of the anger and disappointment you felt in yourself with your friends, with others. It's just been you and your guides, or just you with yourself. Some acceptance has set in, but I think that this is coming up for you to learn more about why you did what you did. What's your anger really about? Creativity, creative expression, trust your vision. The road is clear, you know what to do, walk it your way. See the beauty, gratitude, the sacred is everywhere. Pile 2, this feels so clear cut. You have to, this is something that's coming up so much with my clients these days. It's like so much anger with the lower self as it expressed itself in the past. So much anger with the child self. What you need to understand, pile 2, is that just as there are things in that past self that you need to unlearn, that you need to change, there is also deep wisdom in that self. There is also deep wisdom in the mistakes that you've made, deep wisdom in the shallowness of your decisions or the seediness of your sexual energy. There is wisdom as much as there is foolishness in your actions and your energy of that time. You need to understand that something of yourself needed to experience those things of your own lower self to be able to organically separate from it. You know, a lot of us keep existing in this lower self by actually not facing it. We kind of preserve the shallow pleasures of this lower self by hiding it from our own selves. What you did instead is that you let it come out in a very concrete way in your life. You saw it for what it was, and then it organically separated you from it. You know, it's a very Martian way, a very scorpionic, a very sacred warrior kind of a way of dealing with the lower self, which is not to suppress it, but to let it play out. And the play itself then distances you from it. Do you understand what I mean? It's like really facing yourself head on. Which is why it may have been so traumatic, so powerful, that even though it happened years ago, you can't let go of it yet. Because you witnessed something of yourself that was truly awful, truly horrible. But you know what? That has also been like one of the big humbling forces in your life, where you understand how everyone has this lower self. It may have granted you so much compassion for other people, so much empathy for other people, but because you understand that all of these ills and evils that we see outside of ourselves, they exist within us too. There's just so much good that has come out of whatever's happened in the past, just as there's been bad stuff that's come out of it, but there's also been a bunch of good, a bunch of wisdom that's come out of whatever you've done in the past. And you're encouraged now to see that side of things. You've done really well in terms of critiquing yourself, in terms of learning from your mistakes and being unflinchingly honest about the ways in which you messed up or the ways in which you were clinging to very lower forms of security. You've been very good at figuring out the ways that you need to grow up, you needed to grow up, but now it's time to also look at the beauty in what you did. Look at the wisdom in what you did. You've leached the poison out, pile 2, and now it's time to see the beauty of that poison, you know. It's like you now need to do some shadow work with the shadow. Like the shadow is also light. The shadow is also light. I feel like one practical way in which you can do this is actually engage with texts that are about people going through similar journeys, where they have the lowest of lows, sexually, spiritually, professionally, but that low, whatever that low is, that becomes the basis for the heights that they touch. Like someone who's found themselves through the mistakes they've made, you know. So read books around it, novels around it, watch movies, shows around this narrative arc. In many Indian languages, we have a word called patit. Patit means someone who's fallen so low. There's a whole tradition of divine poetry called bhakti poetry. I think it sort of had its high moment in the 14th century. A lot of this poetry is about people saying, look at how patit I am, God. Look at how fallen I am. But because I'm fallen, you can now lift me up. You know? You couldn't lift me up if I was flying high on my ego, if I was flying high on my pleasure. But now that I've fallen so low, I can be sure that you'll come to lift me up. It's like that. There is deep wisdom in what you did. You felt so low so that only the right spirit can come lift you up. Look at this image here. There's an ascension, there's a path of ascension here that this person can only faintly see. It's like that. Whatever you did was your path to ascension. But for that, you had to be honest about how low you were or how low you could go. The crowning, initiation, absolutely. Thresholds, birth, rebirth, a seat at the table. The second bloom, a second chance. It's never too late. New possibilities. After the rain, silver lining, relief, hope, mercy. It's over. Acceptance. Oh my God, look at that. Pile 2, look at that. Ooh. Yeah. This next stage of your healing is really for you to accept that whatever you did for yourself. Whatever you did unlocked something within you that could not have been opened otherwise. There's something of fate here. There is something of your soul's calling here. Your soul led you down those lowest of low paths. Even though it feels paradoxical on the surface, how can soul lead you down that kind of dreariness, that kind of awfulness? Everything is soul and everything is God. And that's what you're called to recognize in this moment. It is all good. It is all divine. It is all sacred. That's what you need to understand. whatever disgust you feel towards yourself, you don't need to push it down. You don't need to say, no, 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 it was all beautiful. No, witness the disgust, but also let your respect for yourself emerge. Also let beauty emerge in the disgusting scene in front of you. But I feel like you're very close to this. I feel like you just need a little bit of a mental shift now. Like intentionally start looking for what really opened up through the mistakes that you made. What was it that you made available to yourself by making the choices that you did? You're very, very close. It's like the crowning, right? Like the head is crowning, and it's just a matter of time before the whole body of the child emerges from the womb. It's like that. The head has already crowned. Even here, even this card, there's an imagery of crowning because we can only see the head of this person. You're ready, pile 2. You're ready to move on from what you did, but you just need a little bit of this mental shift. Yes, it was poison. Yes, it was the nectar of the gods. It was both. You were never alone. Otter spirit, hummingbird spirit, be here now. Hummingbird is also the bird that that flaps its wings the quickest, right? There's a quickness right now to whatever's happening. Bobcat spirit, life is a mystery. All 3 of these feel like your guides, pile 2. All of your guides saying you were never alone, even when you were in the dreariest of those moments. You were never alone. We were watching over you. We were witnessing the brave way in which you had decided in this incarnation to face your lower self. We stand in admiration of your courage. It's like all the shame that you feel about what you did, your guides don't feel shame. Your guides feel awe. They're in awe of you for the way in which you decided to face yourself in this lifetime. And your guides are now saying, yes, this is all true. There's poison and goodness, everything's there, but also that's all you need now to just move through it. Be here now. Open to what's next. Stop dwelling on the past. Stop dwelling on whether I did right or whether I did wrong. It was both. You did the rightest thing possible. You did the wrongest thing possible. Both aspects are true. Now you can let it go. You don't need to keep, balancing the scales. Was it right? Was it wrong? Pros and cons. You don't need to do that. The scales are now balanced. It was right. It was wrong. It was both. And you are now able to walk ahead, open to what's coming. Because what's coming feels really surprising. This is the thing, pile 2. Those narratives I was talking to you about, people who've managed to unlock their heights through the lowest of their lows. You've been through the lows. You've emerged from them, but the heights haven't come to you yet. And what's coming now, what's opening up now is a path to that height. You're ready to ascend. You're ready to grow. You're ready to move. So move. Know that you're never alone, that you're witnessed in all your intelligence and your foolishness. To your guides, it's all the same. It's all sacred. Oh, I feel such a release coming on, such a such an explosion of forgiveness. Yeah, you're in the process of forgiving yourself, pile 2, and it's going to feel so good. It's going to feel so liberating. Your mistake was also your wisdom. That's what's really hard to accept, isn't it? We are the hero in our stories and we're also the villain. Both are true. And that's just how it is. You cannot use one to cancel out the other. Alright, that's you, Pirate 2. I'm sending you a lot of love. Pile 3. The bud. Potential, promise, it's about to happen, keep going. This feels like energy that's been waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen. Could be a love relationship, could be a career development. You're tired of waiting. It feels like this is someone who's experienced a kind of spiritual awakening, and what happens often for the first few years after that kind of an event is that because you're changing so rapidly, because there's so much energy flowing into you, soul energy flowing into you, and you're making space for that by shedding your ego, it can feel sometimes to us as if we're on the precipice of some massive external event unfolding. It's what we don't realize is that it's already happening in the moment. Like we're already changing, transforming. The massive event we're waiting for, it's already happening. But because at the egoic level we're used to seeing external events as a confirmation of our goodness, as a confirmation of our progress, it can feel really frustrating. So you may be going through that kind of spiritual process right now where you are actually changing rapidly, where big things are happening to you internally, but externally nothing is moving or hasn't moved in a while. Even as emotionally you feel, it's going to happen like next day, it's going to happen right now. And so it can, that kind of a thing, it can last years and it can be really exhausting. And I feel like you're there, like you've reached some kind of a limit of your exhaustion, and it's creating self-doubt, it's creating anxiety about whether you have really changed, because why is nothing happening outside of you, Just drink some water, pile 3. Yeah. You could also be working very closely with your guides, where they're affirming that, okay, change is happening, but you may be interpreting it as the event you're waiting for will happen. And this is your message, pile 3. We'll see what other cards say, but getting very strongly that your message is that you have been tying your spiritual transformation to a particular egoic fantasy. So and this happens to all of us, right? So you may have been motivated to do the work that you're doing on yourself by the promise of, I'm going to do all of this work and then I'll find the husband of my dreams, or the wife of my dreams, or the person of my dreams. Or you may have been doing this work thinking, once I do all of that, then I'm going to be able to launch my career in this absolutely aligned way. Success is just going to flow to me because I'm going to be aligned. There is some egoic goal. It is also full of spiritual energy. Like, it's not just a selfish thing, like I want to be all powerful. I think there's also a lot of spiritual motivation here. Like, you want to experience yourself as soul through love or through the service that you provide to the world, but it is also an egoic fantasy. And you've been tying your spiritual work to that outcome, to the image of that outcome, which is why right now you're feeling frustration. The frustration is not really nothing is happening, though that's what your conscious mind might say to you. I'm frustrated because nothing is happening. I think your frustration comes from a deeper place. It comes from the soul, actually, which is saying the egoic image is actually stopping me from expressing myself more deeply. Like your soul is saying, you need to move this a little bit, you need to let go of this image a little bit so that more of us can come online. Also, whenever we tie spiritual work to a particular outcome, it becomes limited. We can't fully experience its depth. We can't fully experience its vastness when we tie it to a tangible goal. Spiritual work necessarily has to be undertaken without any end in mind. Even if someone enters it thinking, I want to, be free forever, moksha, liberation, nirvana, you can't get there as long as you're fixated on that image. It is a paradox of spiritual work. Only when you surrender all outcomes that the right outcome emerges. The real right outcome is surrender, pile 3, and you're being called to do that. Look at also like the stance here of these figures. They're surrendered bodily in dance. Dance, oh my god. Dancing with stones, movement, teamwork, partnership. The edge, take a chance, do something different. Nothing is impossible. Open to the unexpected, you will find a way. Okay, interesting. Your guides are saying, pile 3, that what you're hoping for, what's going to come in, or what is possible for you is even bigger than your wildest dream. It is way bigger than what you envision for yourself. But it's bigger in a way that, again, it's not about your ego. So it's not, okay, you're expecting to create a business that has a turnover of, 40,000 rupees. And your guys are saying, no, 80,000 is possible. It's not about those egoic measures at all. It's about liberation. It's about growth. You cannot envision, you cannot imagine the kind of spiritual growth and liberation that is going to be possible for you in this lifetime. It's like you're going to go the full distance. Again, these are just abstract words, right? Because how could we ever imagine something that we don't know exists? Like, this is, we're so caught up in ourselves, we're so imprisoned in ourselves that we can't imagine liberation. It's like someone who's been in jail all their life, and if they're released, the first thing they're going to feel is fear. They're not going to feel elated. It's like that. Part of why you've been so attached to this egoic outcome, to the image of this egoic outcome, is Also because something in you is scared of the liberation that is coming for you. Something of you is deliberately holding on to what you know because the unknown is too vast and terrifying. But what you need to understand is that the big event you're waiting for, it's already occurred, in that the unknown has become available to you. You're truly playing right now with the soul. You are in the territory of the soul. You are on the path. Like, look at that. You're on the edge here, ready to both jump, but also really scared to jump into the ocean of the soul, into the ocean of the unknown. And you're protecting yourself by holding on to this egoic outcome. Oh, I'm going to have the marriage of my dreams. Oh, I'm going to have the career of my dreams. You need to let go. Look at that. There's so much light here. So much light here. This is where you need to go. So much light that you can't actually see where you're going. It's blinding. And because it's blinding, you're installing an image of the familiar fantasy here so that you can feel safe. So you feel like, oh, it's not that unknown. But it is, pile 3. It is. You've done something massive. You've opened the doors of the prison. Now, all you need to do is step out. And you are afraid of it, rightfully so. But your guides are saying you're ready. You let go of this final thing, this egoic image of the outcome that you want, and like what's going to flow into your field is going to be so unexpected, so completely different than what you think could be the best possible outcome. What's available to you is much, much greater than that, but again, not in the egoic sense. I feel like you're angry with your guides in some sense. I feel like you're angry with whatever you experience as God or divinity or universe, because you feel like, I've been doing all of this work, where is my success? Where's my reward? And your guides are saying, no, actually, that anger, that expectation of the reward is what's keeping you from it. Your anger is a protective mechanism, pile 3. Healing the mother line, healing ancestral work, mother line growing up, rose without thorns. You have a right to your joy, peace, sweetness of life. Mother rose, again, a repetition of the message about the mother, returning to each other, compassion, humanity. Let me tune into the energy here. It feels like something specific is coming through. This egoic image you have of what you want, somehow your mother or mother figures in your life or your ancestral line is connected to it. The dream you've always dreamt, there is something of the ancestral in it. But also a little bit of your mother's own unlived life. So let's say that if your mother always sought romantic fulfillment and you saw them not getting it, it's like part of your desire to get it is also her desire to get it for her. You know what I mean? It's like you're living her unlived life in some way. You're living the unlived life of your ancestors in some way in the dream that you've dreamt for yourself. Your guides are saying you can let it go. It is yours, but it is also full of others. You need to understand this, that part of your draw towards it, part of your attachment to it, why it's so strong, it's not just because it comes from your soul. It's so strong because it's also other people's energies in it. You know, something I often see in the spiritual world is mistaking strength of attachment for love, mistaking strength of attachment for the testimony of the soul. Like, I want this so badly, of course something divine is happening here. But sometimes you want something really badly because of other reasons. And this is a prime example of that, pile 3, that you want something so badly, not because it's destined, but more so because there's all of that force of the ancestral line behind you. And you know, you don't need to live other souls' unlived lives. You can live your own. You are free to say no. You're free to say, I enjoyed dreaming this dream for all of us, but it's time now for me to be free of that too. Your guides are giving you the green signal here that, you know, you can let this dream go. And what does that mean? Okay, so it sounds like it's a thing you do, but it's not about one day just deciding I'm letting this image go. It's really understanding why it calls to you so powerfully, understanding what kinds of needs within you that image fulfills. So if you felt unloved, then obviously the idea of a successful marriage or a, you know, powerful union, of course, that makes you feel like all your needs will be fulfilled. Or if you have doubt in yourself, if you're not sure about your sacred worth, then of course the idea of having a illustrious career is going to make you feel like you don't doubt yourself anymore, right? So whatever it is that calls to you in that image, you need to understand the deeper attachments there. So the strength of that dream is coming from your needs. It's also coming from the ancestral line. And you're ready to shed both of those things. You're ready to witness those needs and understand, okay, like if these needs are there within me, only I can fulfill them. No marriage can fulfill it. No career can fulfill it. I have to meet that need myself. Then if I have a career, then if I have a marriage, it'll all work. But first, I have to meet that need. I have to witness that need. You need to understand that. And also you need to let go of like this unspoken burden that you've taken on behalf of your mother or on behalf of your ancestral line. You can let it go, pile 3. I feel like your anger, though to you it feels like I'm angry with my guides or God, and we said it's a protective mechanism, but then I think you're also angry with yourself for being so attached to this dream. Like, it's frustrating, you know, to want the same thing year in and year out, and you're tired of yourself. Yeah, learn from the past, elephant spirit. Parrot spirit, watch your words. Antelope spirit, life is speeding up. Yeah, like inner changes happening at a very rapid pace, pile 3. I know you're frustrated, nothing is happening in your external world, but that's not true, because internally you're changing very, very rapidly. Watch your words here. I feel like it's about you really witnessing yourself. Like, you can do some journaling, or you can just start speaking into your phone, record yourself. Just start talking about this dream, why it means so much to you, what is really at stake in it. Like, study it at the level of the words that come up, the words that flow out of you when you speak about this dream, because I think there are going to be some very important clues there about what this dream is really about, like the true face of this dream, what it's really about. And when you witness that true face, I think you'll be able to let go of it much better, and then truly open yourself to the immense work that you've been doing, like the spiritual work that you have been doing. Open yourself to the vastness, open yourself to, like the unknown. Like, let the spiritual work take you wherever it needs to take you, whatever its own organic rhythm is, without your egoic image of the outcome disrupting this work within yourself. And what is that work? I've been saying spiritual work, but let me just put it in other words. By spiritual work, I mean this continuous awareness that whatever we are conscious of is just like one emanation of the soul. That our incarnation is not the whole truth. That we are living in a very limited, constrained set of conditions, and within that constrained set of conditions we have to access the limitless. We have to access the self that is much more than this incarnation, soul energy for which this incarnation is just a blip. It's an important blip, it's a significant blip. We're going through a lot, we're learning a lot, but we're doing that without being identified with this incarnation. Like, yeah, I am Samia here, but I'm Samia here in service of something that is much bigger than Samia. That's all. That's what spiritual work is. And that's what you've been doing. You've been accessing your own soul energy. But again, as I've been saying, whatever image of outcome you're attached to, it's stopping you from taking that work further. It's keeping you contained in the incarnation rather than allowing you to play with this incarnation. That's your reading, pile 3. I'm sending a lot of love.